Alright, we're back for another episode? Question mark? Maybe? I don't know. Depends on how I splice things, but I'm working on some side quests here. Oh, what the hell? Oh, okay. They're not hostile. For some reason. Am I just getting like more random side quests here? I keep getting distracted by the side quests, it's funny.
Here I go. Is everyone all right?
So long story short of these guys, the guy that's passed out on the ground is going to be really important later on for one of the other side quests. But you'll see that later. Now watch me use this fire orb for funsies. Oh my god. I was just using the fire orb on a whim and it just nukes him for like 3k. Anyway, we continue our search for Vent and find some footprints here, and Milka notices some goblin footprints mixed in. And unfortunately, it looks like they are going towards the Jade Forest, and once again, everything happens in the Jade Forest. Oh yeah, I got this rabbit thing, yeah. Anyway, I find Vent just in time as he is surrounded by a horde of goblins, so I swiftly beat the ever-living hell out of them and rescue him from this predicament.
Is everyone?
After making sure Vent's alright, we figure out the reason he went to the North Steps was to find those stones so that Milka and Ven would all have something to remember when Milka moves away. And so the friends forgive one another and head back to Leith. Meanwhile, I continue on to Shatola to check out the summer sea slide area and to get the next part of the main story started and hopefully get another class unlocked. We immediately see a problem here as there are these mysterious bubbles bubbling up from the surface of the ocean, and apparently all the fishermen are chilling out at the tavern listening to this new songstress. After spending some time doing some fishing, I decided it's time to head over to the tavern and check out this siren. I mean, she is cute, I guess. This man suddenly barges in intending to put a stop to the diva's song, but the bartender steps up and gets him to leave before things escalate further. It turns out that the reason he's trying to stop Emo's song is because it's the last thing he heard before his boat shipwrecked. We then see this landlord guy again, and it looks like he's gonna talk to Emo behind the tavern later tonight, so me and Arya decide to butt our nose into their business and figure out what's going on because something seems suspicious about this man. As I wander around time waiting for night to fall, I stumble across this lady unconscious on the beach and try to, I guess, rescue her. Apparently she was on a boat with somebody else and they got shipwrecked, so she asks us if we saw him, but we haven't, so we decided to ask around town and see if anybody else has seen the man, but nobody has seen anything, unfortunately. I then head over behind the tavern and we listen in on the conversation between the landlord and Emo here, and well, let me put it this way, this guy's basically scum. He's exploiting her singing by promising her a boat, and he's not keeping up his end of the deal, so to speak. So he's basically holding her hostage for his own gain, which is kind of crappy. I say we knock his lights out. Oh, he dropped something. We try to ask Emo what's going on, but she can't talk to us, so she ends up running away. But we notice that the landlord dropped something, so we go and pick it up. Turns out the man dropped a letter, so we decide to read it and learn that he's actually planning on selling Emo. So he has no intention of keeping up his end of the bargain, and I already want to punch this guy in the face. Unfortunately, I'll have to come back tomorrow to finish that quest, so I go back to this chick on the beach to tell her I couldn't find anything about her partner. And after a brief conversation, she decides that she's going to head for Nemea, where she and her partner were going to live before the shipwreck happened. And with that, another day passes. Oh, nice. Mayor gave us some more goods. Man, this guy is just a goat. It's like, here, I have a bunch of seeds. It's like, well, damn, dude. And so I quickly tend to my children here before heading out for another day of fun and exploration. We meet up with the mayor and Milica's parents here, and we learn that they actually are not going to be moving after all due to some kind of accident in Shotola. So all of that drama was basically for nothing. But hey, I still get paid, so yay. I then meet up with the two mercenary dudes at the clinic here, and we take him inside, get him looked at by Chris, and she has the idea of bringing his loved ones to him, and we speculate that it might be the lady from the house whose name is Sheeran, so we head on over to grab her. Although I get a little sidetracked here, apparently the mayor has a request. He wants us to deliver a letter down to Shotola, so we humbly agree. And then we head on over to Sheeran and bring her to Berg. Sheeran decides to look after Berg until he can recover and wake up, and that's the end of this particular quest for now. After that, instead of heading to Shotola, I decide to head to the Silent Cave to start making progress towards the Winter Sea Slight. Oh, lovely. Those guys are the fears. Actually, that's not bad, because they're weak to magic, so... A little... whatever that thing's called, just peering around the corner of the cave like, hello! Anyway, we run around for a bit, collecting loot, fighting monsters, and running from the terrifying fears that are massively over my level. Holy crap, that guy's a level 37. No, thank you, sir. I managed to make it to the Modus on the far side, and with that, I return home to explore another day. The next day, I decided to head over to Nemea to see if Lilia made it to town safely, and there she is. Apparently, she's been asking around for Jade, and as we talk to her, this lady comes up telling us that she's been taking care of a man named Jade, so we rush over to verify if it's him or not. And unfortunately, it turns out he has lost his memories. Well, what's she gonna do now, though? Well, and she just said what I was thinking. After that, I decided to progress through Heaven's Egg and try to complete a little bit more of this part of the main story. That was collateral. Excuse me, sirs. That is an ugly mother. I'm already ready. Let's go. Anyway, I proceed to rock the socks off this guy, but then it turns out this thing has crazy regenerative abilities, so we are forced to retreat due to plot. On my way back to Asl's house, I get roped into another side quest to chase after this girl who I guess wants to go down to Shotola, but her parents won't let her go by herself, so yay. I go to return the Asl's and oh my lord, there is another side quest here. So apparently for this one, whenever people get sick in the town, they get abducted or something, so yay, another quest. Like any other quests, oh my lord. In case it isn't obvious by now, I am getting quite burnt out with all the side quests that are happening in this game right now. So let's get back to the main story. Anyway, Arya reveals that she's from the future and that the technology resembles stuff from her time, and she speculates that what we need to do to take out the monster is to pretty much defeat it in a single blow, which none of us are capable of right now, so now we have to find somebody or something that can help us do that. Tiela here mentions a shadow assassin that apparently took refuge in Nemea some time ago, so we decide to try to see if we can't find this shadow assassin to help us in our endeavor. I then track down the girl from earlier, and she requests us to get a seashell from the beach for her. But that will have to wait, because the main story is calling me right now, so we head to the orphanage. And gee, I wonder who the assassin could be. Totally not this fully modeled out character, right? Oh wow, it was her the whole time. Wow, I'm so surprised. Wow. Okay, so maybe I'm laying it on a bit thick here. But yeah. We learn that Teal gets abducted by the monsters, and so we chase after them. Well, Stina stays behind, but the children try to convince her to help us save Tiela, leaving her with a difficult decision. Anyway, with that taken care of, I can now do this side quest, and we find Mr. Sneezing Guy passed out for some reason. The lady thinks that she saw an omen, and she tells us that she saw it running off toward the North Steps, so that's where the next part of this quest takes place, but we will deal with that later. Arya and I chase Assel back to Heaven's Egg, but we don't have a plan. However, it turns out that Estina decided to follow us after all, and we are going to lead the way to the monster and get our run back. And we also unlock the Shadow Walker class, which is basically it's a high burst dual wielding sword class. It's pretty cool. We then proceed to beat the ever-living hell out of the monster again, and Estina delivers the fatal blow that allows us to take it out for good. Anyway, after some fine words from Assel, Estina officially joins our party for good, and we proceed further into the Heaven's Egg. Anyway, I beat up some monsters, we float around on these wind crystal looking thingies, and then we run out of time, so I end up heading home for the day. Nice, another level up. 1900, that's not bad. 10k, okay, I can do some renovations now. I was going to renovate the farm, but I decided to get the Cluff Owl pen instead, so there goes 5k grill. I then stopped by Cress's house, and she decides to tell us what all of her research has been about this whole time. And it turns out she's researching something that she calls the Quiet, which we learned that is the sickness that took her parents, which is pretty sad. I mean, I don't see how I can brush you off, you know? It's a serious matter. I decided to head down the chateau to get that seashell, and I run into this little girl here who helps me. And with that, we have the shell that we need to bring back to Sherry up in Nemea, but we'll have to deal with that later. I then bring the mayor's letter to this girl, and it turns out that the friend that he'd been sending letters to this entire time actually passed away 6 months ago, and she's been sending letters instead. So she decides to come with us back to Leith to speak with the mayor in person to let him know what actually happened. But that will have to wait because it is main story time. When we enter the bar, we find it is mysteriously empty, so we speak with the bartender about where Emo is. He takes us to the diva's room, and we show them the letter and how the landlord intends to sell Emo off. Unfortunately, since we can't communicate with Emo, we have no clue of knowing what she's saying. However, that problem gets rectified when Juno mysteriously appears out of our bag. Apparently she's been in there this whole time. Anyway, with Juno's help, we're able to communicate with Emo, and we learn about the deal she had with the landlord and how she needs a boat to go to the Summer Sea Slide, so we decide to go find a boat somehow. So we ask around town. We run into Hein, the guy we met way back in Leith a while ago, and managed to convince him to let us use the submarine to go down there. And it seems like he knows that Emo's a siren, which is why he's also letting us go down there. He thinks something's going on at the bottom of the ocean, so away we go. We run into a little bit of underwater turbulence here and hear the Song of the Sirens, but we do manage to make it in one piece. We find that there's breathable air underwater here in this particular area for some reason, but Heinz informs us that Ema's Princess of the Sirens, and she runs off, presumably to find her family. And I unlock the Wogland class, which I guess it's kind of like a bard class. It has a healing too, but yeah. It's an interesting one, to say the least. Unfortunately, I got here pretty late in the afternoon, so after running around for a little bit, I end up heading out pretty quickly so that I don't get kicked out of the dungeon here. Okay, yeah, I'm getting pretty tired of all these side quests. Basically, so this lady, she has a thing for the bartender. He does mysterious things in the Jade Forest. We investigate. It's a long quest chain that eventually ends with her thinking you have a thing for her, and then she goes off to Argene to set up a house for you guys. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. but I'm not going to cover the rest of the side quest, so that's the TLDR. I meet with Sarah here, and as we're about to head out, the mayor himself shows up, and they have a conversation about his friend who passed away that she was impersonating. But everything actually ends up pretty well, and the mayor and Sarah end up becoming pen pals, which is kind of lovely in a way. And then he hilariously books it back to town at a full-on sprint. He's quite spry for an old man, isn't he? Ugh. And here's another side quest. This one's actually it's kind of funny, but kind of boring. This dude stole these kids' treasure, runs off of it to the Jade Forest, then runs down to the beach, or sorry, down to the Summer Sea Slide area. And then it turns out the whole time that their treasure was just this highly polished dirt that they had made out of mud. It's kind of stupid in the end, but yeah, that's the TLDR. Oh look, the Clefel pen has been created, and now I can put chickens there to get eggs. But that is going to have to do it for this episode. Like if you like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see everybody next time. I think next time we're going to focus on the spring sea slide stuff, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, everybody have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.